And it's showtime. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Today, our person is running late, but I'm going to start anyways, even if they weren't going to show up. I was going to start because, hey, I said we were doing a live. And I don't know how many of you are able to join me today or this afternoon, morning, what night, wherever you're at, whatever's going on. Hopefully, you have something to enjoy while watching. Of course, as always, you can take part in the live chat. Anything you have to say, any questions you might have, feel free to jump in. I might use this time. I am working on a video, a Jedi vs. Society video, because I was inspired by the latest episode of Book of Boba Fett. I don't know if you've been watching, but they had an episode, and minor spoiler alert. We're going to talk about that episode. It was the latest episode, last week's episode. So we're going to talk about that episode a little bit, maybe in this chat. And definitely making a video on it. So there'll definitely be spoilers in that because I'm going to be using some of the footage to talk about, again, spoiler here, that there's like a Jedi lesson. Jedi are involved in the latest episode, and it's a crime. I mean, I enjoyed certain parts of the scenes. I enjoyed certain elements of it. I definitely always love to see Jedi training and things of that nature. But there's an element of non-attachment, attachment and non-attachment that we need to talk about, that we Jedi need to talk about, because there's a big misunderstanding. There's a big misunderstanding between what's attachment and what's non-attachment. So I'm definitely making a video on that. We're going to touch on that. We're going to get into it. For now, again, if you have any questions or if you have any comments or you just want to check in, you can use the chat to check in with us while we wait for the person who is supposed to be here, and we'll wait for that and just continue to idle along. Hopefully, we'll get back into making more standard videos soon. Still working on my schedule with things. I have a lot of projects going on right now, and I'm trying to sort them. It's always the problem of too much on your plate, and you have to sort what you're going to go through first, right? And prioritizing. It's a big part of the Jedi path. We've talked about it in previous materials before. One of the things that's always a challenge is working with, what you have and what kind of prioritizing everything, what you need to focus on, where you need to go, and things of that nature. The job that I have now is good for what I want to work on for my personal projects. In a sense, it allows me to make my own schedule, but at the same time, there's a lot of work to be done. So I'm doing a lot of work there, and it takes up more time than I'm used to. And it takes a lot of mental power. It's office job. I switched from working in the kennels, what I was doing before, to an office job, and gotta tell you, it's a different kind of tired. Okay, so we are still waiting. I don't think we have anybody joining us right now. It's been a while. I don't even think YouTube's going to send out any notifications that we have gone live. This channel has been quiet for a little bit. Really, the catalyst for that was the banning and blocking of a few of the Star Wars Jedi meditation videos that have been outright blocked by Universal Music Group. They're pretty infamous on YouTube for doing this kind of thing. Before that video got blocked, we were doing really great. We had over a million views, on that video alone, and of course picked up most of our subscribers from that video. So I can't do anything with the Star Wars music. I've been completely blocked on that. My channel has been flagged for making those kind of videos, unfortunately, but I can get back into making meditation videos, which is something hopefully we can do. Again, another reason for why our videos haven't really, why I haven't been making videos. Hey, Paul, how you doing? Nice. Thank you for checking in. Appreciate you. But one of the reasons why I haven't been making videos as well is because of new living arrangements, in a sense, right? I have someone living with me, which always, always kind of, you have to determine when you're making videos and stuff like that. Sam, I have arrived. Well, welcome, Sam. I appreciate it. You know what? I'm gonna highlight these because I can. Boom, boom, and boom, boom. All right. I'm glad people are arriving in here because it tells me no one is here actually. But so let's see. So we're still waiting for our guest. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I actually just got over a cold, man, like a head cold going around. I was sick for like good 4 days, And of course, in today's climate, man, you're sitting there in bed. I'm coughing. I'm like, oh no, I got the Rona, dude. Of course, I've been like really careful. I'm fully vaccinated and all that. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was just, a bad cold. And, but I am over that. I am good. So I am good. I'm trying to work on more videos for you guys. Like I said in the beginning of this video, we will have a video on attachment and non-attachment for Jedi. Due to the Book of Boba Fett episode, we're gonna have to really talk about that because there was some serious misconceptions in there about what it means for Jedi and attachment and what attachment really means, especially in regards to Jedi philosophy, but in life in general, what attachment and what non-attachment truly means. There's a real big misunderstanding of non-attachment. It's like you have to keep everybody at arm's length and you can't have any intimate or personal relationships because you'll be attached or whatever, and all of that. Hang on one second. Cool. Our guests should be joining us shortly. I see them they're in the studio. They're in the studio and testing their stuff, so they should be ready shortly. But yeah, let's see. What do we got? Ooh, I haven't watched it, but I have seen the hot debates and comment sections about it. I recommend watching it. I mean, I always like certain things. As I said, there's minor spoilers here. There was, a Jedi did make an appearance, and so you get to see some cool stuff. And I loved it, but there was some major misunderstandings between, what attachment truly means to the Jedi, and I think we've seen that before, and we've talked about it a bit before, but I was so heated. It was egregious, the misunderstanding of what attachment and non-attachment means. It was just egregious. And so I'm definitely going to have a video on that, Jedi versus society. And we'll definitely do that. Seen it, very enjoyable. Yeah. As I said, I enjoyed it. I just kind of got a little heated at the end, towards the end. I think we're gonna be about ready here. Before Adam, I'll talk a little bit about. I missed. Wait, hang on. This is what happens when you're late. I've missed a ton of the shows because I don't have Disney Plus right now. Yeah, that's a big one. But yeah, I look forward to your vid on it. There's gonna be some spoilers because I am gonna use some footage, so you will get to see some of it. And I think you'll like it, but yeah, we will talk about that. All right. So my guest, let's see if I can bring him in. Make sure we didn't get to test the audio and stuff, so bear with us as we test this out. All right, here we go. All right, how's that? You all good?
All right. Hey, Opie.
Okay.
My camera's on the wrong side. Sorry about that.
Yes, no worries. So I met you a few years back at a California Jedi gathering. if memory serves correctly.
Yeah,
the gatherings kind of blend together, so I forget which one's whose.
It was the 2016 California Jedi Gathering is what it was. I think it was the first one. So
right. Yeah, absolutely. So you Lycos, is that right?
Lycaos would be closer to correct, but Lycios, I get it all. Sometimes people just do it's Little Raven, Adam. I'm not picky about it. So,
I met you as Adam K, so that's the one. And then, I am horrible with pronunciation, so I always have to ask. That's always one of the things in the Jedi community too, is always trying to figure out everybody's screen names and how they're pronounced and such.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to these past few years? Why don't you fill in our people?
I've been up to a lot. There's been a lot of life stuff going on with my wife and her family and my own family, of course. I moved from California to Pennsylvania, back where they live, her family lives. So I've been just kind of tooling around, living life, doing the Jedi thing, but not in any real official capacity. I am working hard at the Jedi Conclave with Kit and the others there. So, but I'm not in any official training right now. So it's just kind of been a learning process. And I received a calling to shamanism recently. So now I kind of refer to myself as a shaman / Jedi. So
right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's, as it probably is for all of us.
right. It's always been it's always fun in life to try to balance the challenges and of course the ride of life with being a Jedi in regards to that, because you'll always be tested in one way or another, right? One of the things that I don't know. Have you been reading the new High Republic books at all?
No, I don't. I haven't read any of the fiction, to be honest. And I need to. I need to start getting into it, because I love the movies, but I just haven't ever gotten into reading the books. So
it's fair. Yeah. It's not for everybody has their own medium, and everybody has their own things that they really enjoy and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I would love to read some of them. There's a book by one of my favorite authors, Chuck Wendig. Did I don't know if he only did one or if he did a whole series or what, but I'll have to look into it.
Yeah. So I was going to say, in the new books, one of the things a theme that kind of comes up that they talk about between the Jedi is that the more that Jedi have that kind of lot in life, that the more capable you are, the more the Force kind of gears you towards things where you're needed. The Force gears you to where you're needed. And usually where you're needed is not like a fun party, You're not needed. you're not needed to, have fun. You're needed usually in situations that are usually tough, and people are going through things and things like that. So part of being a Jedi is usually that fun of, always kind of being guided towards areas where you're like, I would really like to just go towards a party, actually.
Well, I'm a Dionysus worshiper, so parties are kind of my thing, and I don't go to many parties these days. And it's so I know what you're talking about.
Right. Also, just as a reminder, everybody, if you have any questions, or and whether they're Jedi related or personal related or whatever they are, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll get them out here, and we'll have Mr. Raven give us his take on them. So with they've obviously gone with the new movies and things like that. Have you catched up on any of the shows at all?
I started watching The Mandalorian. Okay. And I was loving it, but my wife wants to watch it with me, and she's not a huge Star Wars fan, so it's kind of a convincing thing. And we have a lot of other shows that we're watching right now, so it's not high on her priority list. So I'm gonna have to probably find some alone time and get into it. And I don't like to watch more than one Star Wars thing at a time. So I waited to watch all the series until I had finished the new trilogy, and that took forever. I just finished that a couple months ago. Right. So anyway, yeah. I'm only the I don't know, fourth episode of the Mando, so I'll have to catch up, and then I want to move on to like the Boba Fett and all that stuff,
Right.
because Mandalorian stuff is just, it's cool. Like, who doesn't like
Yeah.
Mandalorian? Like, it's just awesome.
Right. It is. It is. I really like the feel of it, the kind of old school Western almost
Yeah.
approach to it.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. So you're with, or you're hanging out currently in the community at Jedi Conclave. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of all over the place. I just kind of join groups that I have, acquaintances or friends at, or that I get an invite to, and see how it goes. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. And I need to get back. I need to get back to Jedi Living, because I think I have an account there that I like barely ever used.
It's all right, man. That's all right.
Just
Jedi
hectic.
Living, yeah, Jedi Living right now is collecting dust. I've kind of let it just do its own thing, put out the material there and stuff. So it's not even a worry. But I mean, always, all the stuff's still there, right? Like all the lessons and all the libraries and things, so people can use as they need. But but yeah, so how is kind of traversing the Jedi community been going so far? Like, I know you said you're not in any official training, but there's always stuff you pick up and everything.
Yeah, I'm working on some stuff. I'm kind of getting into helping get the conclave running, because they've had a hard road with their site set up and everything. So Kit had asked me to help out, and I'm still working out how I can help, but I like being in on the ground floor on new things. Like, it's just exciting and it's fun, and like I said, they've had a hard road there, that they've had some struggles, and so I think they could always use another set of hands, as it were,
Right, right, absolutely.
So, but I don't know. I have a tendency to talk too much, so that's one of the things that I've been working on, because it's, I've had my former teaching master at Tojo. She was like, I would recommend that you talk less, and I'm like, yeah, no kidding.
Talk less. That's all right. Okay, that's an interesting one.
It's for good reason. It's I have mental health issues, so bipolar, and I think we've probably talked about this before. And so I kind of had to realize that I'd been in a state of hypomania for quite a while, due to things that were going on in my personal life. So I was like, yeah, I definitely need to talk less. I tend to kind of dominate chat rooms, if you hadn't noticed. So
hey, filling space sometimes is necessary.
Yeah, it feels necessary, and when other people are like, "Whoa, like, you need to slow down," that's when I have to kind of readjust. I mean, I tattooed a caffeine molecule on my leg for reasons.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Let's see. We got Sam chiming in saying, "Sounds like my professor at me." So we got a couple people, dominating the chat, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like all things in balance, right? Within the Jedi philosophy, there's a time for going at it, and then there's a time for like sitting back and kind of allowing other people or even silence itself to kind of make the point, and that could be a hard lesson for anyone.
It is. Do you mind if I smoke, or would you rather not do that on camera?
No, I don't have an issue with it.
Okay. It's not healthy, and it's not something I want bad behavior that I want to model. It's just, it's, as a shaman, I view tobacco as a potential tool. So I've pretty much broken my addiction, except for the physical component, but I'm working on that still. But
yeah, we'll put it out there for any minors watching. Don't do it until you're old enough.
Don't smoke.
And then two, if you can avoid it, don't do it. So there it is. But yeah, I think for going back to like building a community is always something that's an interesting challenge and kind of like, and also provides a lot of lessons for the Jedi themselves, like whoever's putting it together. I know when I've like built communities, and when I've built my own like academies or whatever, like going through that, building the lessons plans or building the structure or what have you, the rules, all of that always affects you and gets you kind of like in that sense of okay, and you learn something from
Yeah.
that process.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's these days I kind of try to view any challenge or struggle as a potential learning process, you know, just it's because it is, you learn from mistakes probably more than you learn from things you do right. So you know, yeah, and building a community is tough these days because with COVID and everything, everybody's so stressed and frazzled and burnt out and all of those things that people have been complaining about for 2 years now. And I mean, around here where I live, it's mostly pretty chill. People don't, I mean, it's the Northeast, so it's kind of like, if you don't talk to me, I'm not going to talk to you. That's just kind of the attitude. I don't know if you've been up to like New York or anywhere, but it's just, that's the Northeastern thing. And I'm from California. So, you know, I'm used to like a slower pace where, you know, Central California. So a slower pace where I can stop and talk to strangers on the street. And here they're kind of like, if it's the right person, they might stop to talk with you because we live in a small town. But if you're going to the city or something, it's a completely different, like, it's culture shock. You know, it was culture shock for a while because people don't stop and slow down to talk to you mostly unless they can or are of a mind to do so, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And it can be tough. It can be socially isolating because, you know, I'm a big time extrovert and it's just like, I like talking to random people. It's fun. Like, it's cool to hear about how other people are living their lives. I don't know.
Well, I cannot say I relate. I am definitely the opposite. I'm Los Angeles boy, so yeah, I keep my head down. I'm on my business. I'm an introvert as well, so I'll people watch for sure, but I ain't trying to get up in nobody's business, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand how that's a big, you know, that's a shift. That's a shift for personality.
Yeah. And it's funny because my wife is an extreme introvert. So whenever I do that, she kind of drifts away. And if we're going for a walk, she'll just kind of walk ahead a ways. And I'm just like, okay, I'll catch up.
Right.
see you in a minute. Like, I'm going to talk with this rando. Like,
that's great. Well, it's all needed. It's all needed. We need both kinds, right? One of my favorite Twilight episodes is where a guy makes a wish for people to be
Twilight Zone. Okay.
And he makes a wish for people to be like him, and really he ends up turning everybody into him, and then he has to put up with just himself the entire time, and he's like, oh
no, what have I done?
And it's I mean, like, that's the reality. You can't have just like one set of people, you know, roaming the earth. You gotta have a bunch of different kinds. And those extroverts, you know, I'm there with your wife. I'm like, all right, you have this conversation. I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah. Well, we're getting into some pretty cool stuff. We want to start up like paranormal investigations. So we had a kind of a psychic awakening, we're calling it, I guess, back around Halloween. So that's been intense. That's been a learning process. And it's kind of like, keep it in perspective, you know, like everyone has, I believe that everyone has these kind of abilities, but if they don't realize it, they may be using them without even knowing it. And it's a matter of, you got to understand that you can do these things before you can consciously use them. Like clair powers is what I'm talking about, clairaudience, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's an intense thing when you open up and accept that, if you can. Like, you know, some people just don't believe that that's real, and that's valid. Like, I understand that science is kind of king in this world.
Sure.
So, you know, so I get it, but you know, that's kind of part of my path, you know, in life and in spirituality. So it's important to both of us, and we go on walks and just see what's there. And there's a lot around this area if you believe and you're willing to see, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we live about about a 30 to 45-minute drive from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and she grew up there, my wife.
Okay.
So that's intense. Like that's a
Right.
big thing. Like it's pretty wild. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been cool. It's been a crazy ride.
I bet. I think, yeah. Years ago, I was part of a paranormal investigation group in Montana.
Nice.
Yeah, and we got to do some things and got together and bought all the equipment at the time,
Yeah.
EMF detectors and all that
Yeah.
fun stuff, and
Yeah.
and digital recorders and all.
Oh, yeah.
For your electronic voice phenomena and things of that nature. And
Yep.
but I was definitely like, my role was like the skeptic, like I
Yeah.
was there
Yeah.
to keep people as grounded as possible, because I agree with you, like when you're open to it and things like that, but it's like that quote, keep your mind open but not so open your brain falls out.
Right.
And people can get, it can run away with people, like then everything becomes, that, the thing, like the quote, if all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, sort of thing.
That reminds me of Thor. That just
yeah,
because he will go smash if if he feels he needs to.
This is my wheelhouse. I know how to solve this problem right here. All I got to do is and so again, I think it goes back to what we were just talking about, where having that diversity of personality and that diversity of outlooks allows us to bridge that gap and find that middle ground, where we often float one way. People just tend to float more one way than the other on things, and it's hard to find that, like, no, these two things, they're not mutually exclusive. We can come to this middle ground area and develop a better understanding of things.
Yeah. It's
and,
it's that what do they call it, synthesis.
Right.
It's the synthesis of ideas and beliefs and whatever else may be involved, especially when it comes to things like paranormal investigations, because there's a lot of, well, I'm a what I would call a death shaman. So I communicate with the dead, and that's something that, like, hearing from my grandfather who had passed in 2012, that was intense. That was very comforting and a relief to know that he's up there and he's waiting for my grandma to join him. And that brings me a lot of peace. Not, I have come to be at peace with the loss of all that I have lost over the years. And that's kind of, I guess that's part of my Jedi path, as much as it's a part of anything, being able to move forward instead of dwelling in the past, is right. That's a hard lesson too. That's a hard lesson for a lot of people. That's,
yeah.
And especially when it involves intense things like death and loss and all of these emotional, heavy emotional things. So that was very cathartic, I guess would be the term, realizing that if I want to, I can reach out, and whether anyone else believes I'm actually talking to the dead or not, that's right. That's their skepticism. And I was a skeptic for a long time too. It took my wife making me realize what was really going on for me to move from, well, I believe you when you say you've seen ghosts, but I've never seen evidence of it. So, I remained a skeptic up until around Halloween of last year. So this is all still new to me, and part of the learning process.
Right. It's an important lesson, and as you say, it's one that a lot of people in general, let alone Jedi themselves, definitely struggle with, is that acceptance, attachment, non-attachment, like when to move forward, when to be present, when to let go of the past, what to take from the past, and what to let go, because there's obviously, you still want to learn from it, and it's still valuable to your life, in the sense of, you did go through these things did still impact you and things like that. So you can't ignore it, and you can't just like forget it, but at the same time, allowing it to control or to dominate your current situation is always tends tends to be a little hectic. And we got Sam chiming in with
Thanks,
the Death
Sam.
Shaman.
Thanks, Sam. Excuse me.
So yeah, and again, anybody watching, if you have any questions, of course you can leave them in the comments section on the YouTube channel, or you can put them into the chat here, and we will get to them. So if you have any questions on that, spiritual, Death Shaman, anything, Jedi, this is definitely the time.
Yeah, and one of my spirit guides, my primary spirit guide is Raven. So that's he told me, I don't know, if anyone's going to believe this, but he told me that I am his first true shaman in like 175 years or so. And that was really, I had to take that as a humbling thing, not as a boost to my ego, because that I could really easily run away with that thought and get puffed up, like a pigeon, and I don't want to, it's as a shaman and a Jedi, that's something that I do my best to avoid, because it's just bad. It's just bad when my ego gets a boost.
It reminds me of, did you ever play Knights of the Old Republic?
I played a little. I've had a lot of people tell me how amazing it is, and I should probably try to play it, but all I have is Apple products.
Don't even worry about it. They're coming out with a remake soon anyway, so you don't even have to worry about it. But in there's you meet a Jedi, Jolie Bindo, and he talks about a person that he meets, a Jedi, who has the Force just swirling around him, and this feeling of a great destiny and stuff. So he tags along with this dude because he's curious, like, wow, the Force is, I haven't seen this before. Like, this is amazing, right? And I'm not going to go through the entire story, but basically the kid gets tossed down an airlock in a ship because he gets so puffed up in believing in his destiny, that he believes he's untouchable on things. So he stands up to this pirate and is like, I'm this Jedi. I have this great destiny. I have the Force swirling around me. And the pirate basically just kicks him down an airlock, like, boom, later. That's it.
While you were monologuing, I was getting rid of the problem.
Right. And the moral of that story, the reason he's telling you, he's like, just because, this is happening doesn't ensure anything. And it's about humility, like keeping your feet grounded. So when you do have something like that, like someone being like, hey, guess what? That's more of a, you got really big shoes to fill because it's been a really long time, buddy. Not a, hey, you should take this as a compliment, trying to remember those kind of things and keeping ourselves, being honest. Again, one of the big struggles with the Jedi, I see it a lot in the community, is that, and again, another video that I'm working on is arrogance, overconfidence, and confidence, right? Like that the quote, it's not bragging if it's true.
Right.
And being, as a Jedi, you have to have self-honesty. That is a core part of being a Jedi. So that means recognizing when you are, when you're doing your things, when you're doing something, when you're good at something, you have to recognize that just as much as you have to recognize when you're not doing so good at something, and it can be a struggle and a balancing act to keep the humility while keeping self-honesty. When we got here, that sounds like a lot of responsibility and big shoes to fill.
It is. And that's like when I received my calling to shamanism, it was after connecting with my Cherokee ancestors. And so that was a big thing, because I had researched the genealogy to Hades and back, so to speak. And and my family, other members of my family had helped out we have books of our genealogical history and stuff. And like, people have done the research on both sides of the family. And so that was when Raven told me, that I was his first, true shaman. I was like, wow, that's a heavy weight. That's a heavy burden. Like that feels intense. And I had to kind of manage what that means for me, I guess. Because it's that what we were just talking about. It's that keeping the humility and not puffing up, but having confidence. And a lot of people seem to misunderstand the difference between confidence and arrogance. And
Right.
it's like, I'm not generally an arrogant person, or I try not to be, but sometimes I think I come across that way,
Sure.
because at least now, because I've always been a confident person. I was raised to be a confident person,
Mhm.
and it's hard. It's all about being I was recommended. It was recommended to me that I read up on the four agreements. I don't know if you're familiar
Right.
with that,
Yeah. Sure.
but be impeccable with your word. I forget the exact quotes, but it actually comes from, I think, like Peruvian or Andean shamanism,
Mhm.
the four agreements, and that was a big one for me, because I had to realize, like, this is exactly what I've already been trying to practice and kind of failing at, and I had to read them to realize, like, this is Jediism. Like, this is
Yeah.
not just shamanism. This is like for anyone. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything seriously, or don't take yourself too seriously. Really, I guess, is more the the message there.
Right.
And that was a big realization for me when that was my former teaching master. It was a very brief thing at Tojo, and
Right.
she recommended that I read up on those. And that was Roz J.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, she goes to the California Jedi meetings, or used to,
Right.
and anyway, she had recommended that I read up on that, and it was really cool. It was a powerful realization that, like, that's what I've been trying to get to for years and failing, at those four agreements.
Right.
So
Right.
I was grateful that she directed me to that, because I tend to avoid books that are classed as self-help, because
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes they're like new agey and too, I don't know, hippy dippy, I guess. They're too like, you're a being of light and goodness and you should express it. And it's like, that's great, but say it in plain English so that it doesn't sound so just new age. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually had, when I first read those, and I read the Four Agreements a while back. It's one of the things that I sought to incorporate when building the websites and the communities that I had
Hmm.
at a time, and that's really where, when I was developing, I actually used them like almost verbatim when I was the administrator at Capital Jedi. That was the
Hmm.
website, and
Okay.
when I was administrator there, I used those as the basically code of conduct. Like, do this, as a thing. I ended up changing them, or evolving them to the Jedi thing, and then adding
Mm.
my own flair and stuff like that. And
Cool.
at Jedi Living, yeah, we have basically the general code of conduct, which is the representation policy, which is behave in a manner befitting a Jedi. Basically, be impeccable to your word, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be true to yourself is
Mm.
basically what that comes down to. The mutual respect policy, where you treat yourself and others in a courteous and fair manner. Fair is not always nice. It's not always about that. So, um, that's one of the things. And then the assumption policy: don't make assumptions, and seek to overcome ignorance, which, again, kind of fits in there. The honesty policy: acknowledging failure as much as we acknowledge success. That's a part of confidence and growing. As well as the teamwork policy, which embraces diversity as a strength and cultivates unity through community.
Hmm.
Understanding, again, as we were talking about before, that it takes many personalities and many different people from different walks of life to kind of create that middle ground that actually works and actually provides solutions.
Hmm. Yeah. Sorry about that, by the way. My wife walked down and I wanted to let her know I was on a web show.
No, you're good. You're good.
um,
That's
anyway,
fun.
um, yeah, that's great. The four agreements are something that I feel like everyone could, Jedi or not, or
Right.
shaman or not, could incorporate into their lives. Like that I haven't read the book yet, but I looked it up. I just kind of read the wiki article on it,
Right.
and was like, yeah, that's like basically Jediism in a nutshell. If you think about it, that's those 4 agreements alone they express so much without having to say much,
Right.
and it's cool. It's great. I'm glad to hear that you incorporate that, because
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, like, that's really what I mean when we look at the evolution of the Jedi community and the Jedi path itself. Lucas started out. We start off with George Lucas, who has his inspirations and stuff, but we don't have much from the original trilogy. We have a few lines. We have some good stuff. We have a great groundwork. But if you tried to build a year-long program just off of Empire Strikes Back, you're going to run out of material really quick, And so in the early days, we obviously supplemented and we filled in with whatever we could, and we went out there and you follow in the footsteps of Lucas. What was his inspirations? All right, let's start there, and then you start expanding as you grow. Again, different personalities, different walks of life, different cultures come in, and they tell you different things. They offer different materials. They offer different experiences. And you start blending it in. What fits? What doesn't fit? You use that APBP test. Does this really apply to us? Is this, beneficial and practical to what we are doing? And so you bring that all together, and you start fleshing out. All right, this fits Jedi. This doesn't. And you get a lot of material. So when you look at something or at least I know when I look at something these days, my very first thoughts are like, how does this fit with Jediism, or how does Jediism fit in this? Because that's one of the big things about being a Jedi is it doesn't preclude you from anything. It doesn't exclude you from anything. You can follow, as you say, you can be a death shaman, you can be anything. You can be an atheist, you can be anything and still be a Jedi and still work within that philosophical framework.
Or a Sith.
Right.
You could be, I mean, it's funny that all of those lessons that probably all of us learned as a kid about you can be whatever you want to be, when you hit the real world and it starts to feel like that's not true, it's tough to come to terms with the fact that it is. It's especially for, I think, people of my generation and like millennial generation and stuff. Like it's been a hard realization because we've been in a semi state of recession for most of our lives, at least those of us that are younger.
Right.
And that's when the rubber meets the road. It's like, it does feel like, all those lessons we learned from our parents and teachers were lies, and they're not, but it takes understanding to realize that, to accept that, like, yeah, you can be what you want to be if you put your mind to it, but you have to decide first what you want to be. And that's been my struggle. My struggle. Like you've probably seen me bouncing around the Jedi community. I've been around since 2012, and for a long time, in fact, until very recently, I wasn't sure that I even wanted to be Jedi. And I had to be like, well, I am Jedi, so titles don't matter. I don't care if other people recognize me as a Jedi or as a knight or whatever. So that's why I am where I am now, where I'm not doing any official training, because that doesn't matter to me anymore. I don't care. Like, I care about doing what I do. I don't, it's not, it's these Jedi and shaman are titles that are given to you, not that you claim, in my belief. It's not something that you can just say, oh, I'm a Jedi master. It's like someone has called you, and someone has called you a Jedi master, maybe, but you either accept it for yourself or you don't. And that's for a lot of people, I think, a hard pill to swallow. That idea that these kinds of things they're given as much as they're claimed. Right. Yeah, Sam. I understand that feeling. Yeah.
I think it's something, especially, I don't know if it's a generational thing or not, but like, I feel like there's a certain thing there where the world, because we grew up in a world that was expanding. At one time, the world was a much smaller place, but with the advent of the internet, with international TV programming, with things, there's a reason why like K-pop groups are huge outside of Korea, right? Like,
or J-rock,
right? Like, I mean, it's all over. You pick
and
a country,
anime.
pick a
Yeah.
country, pick a culture, and it's spreading far beyond whatever lines are on a map, right?
Right. Right.
And
Because borders are just lines on a map,
yeah,
you know, and
I
a
mean,
set of laws to defend them, you know.
right.
So
and
yeah.
we get to now experience cultures that we didn't have access to before. And then, as you say, like researching genealogy and things like that, sometimes you find like you don't understand why maybe a certain culture like really speaks to you. Like, why does this culture like really speak to me versus where I grew up? Like, I grew up
Right.
here, this should be my culture, this should be, you know, my thing. And then you see something else and you're like, man, this just vibes. Like, I can't explain it, this just vibes with me. And so now that idea of you can be whatever you want, well, now it's not just a little box anymore. Now it's the whole world that you're looking at, and you're like, well, what, I could be anything? And it's
right, like what
anything,
like,
no,
anything.
and you're like, no, let's
no,
let's
I
bring
can't. I'm not...
let's bring the selections back down to like 10 maybe. Like, I can't, you're giving me too much here, you know.
There's too much. There's too much choice.
Yeah, right. And I know for me, that's literally one of the problems that I've been having with like creating material for the channel and things like that. Is like, I'm like, I have too much. Like, oh, do I want to write a book? Do I want to make a video? Do I want to do this? Do I want to work on this other project? Like, it's all these options, and you gotta nail down your options and try to pick one. And bane of my existence. That's
accurate. Deep. Yeah, the vibes.
The vibes.
You gotta vibe with what you're doing, or you're not gonna want to do it. That's what people mean when they say, you know, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Like, you know, it's people think that means that you won't be working, but you will be working. Because
you still got those deadlines.
I mean, I like using the scientific definition of work. Like, you know, it's anything that you put energy into, and using your energy wisely is part of the process of figuring out what your focus and your energy determines who and what you are. And that's been a long time coming for me. Like it's a long road. It feels like I'm only 32, but it feels like it's been a whole lifetime. You know, it's just because, well, mostly because of poor decisions in the past. I mean, I was addicted to hard substances, and I broke out of that with a lot of help. And, you know, I've moved through that. I've almost died multiple times, or was in a situation where I could have died at least. And, I had a gun pulled on me at one point when I was letting a gangbanger drive my car. And that was, I was too high at the time to realize what was really going on. But later, when I came down and started to realize, like, wow, I almost got killed. Like, literally, like, you know, that was a big one. That was like, you know, we could have easily been. It was fortunate that the driver at the time knew the guy, because that was in downtown Fresno, and that was a world that I should have never gotten into, but I did. And I survived, and I'm never going back, because that's part of why I moved to Pennsylvania, is to get away from all that. And plus I had just gotten out of a terrible relationship that I let go on for way too long. So that's, you know, it's, you live and you learn, you know?
It's something that I've really come to realize within the Jedi path, or the Jedi community specifically, is I've really never met a Jedi who didn't have a past, you know, just to sum it up, of the things that we go through, that every Jedi, you know, there's that quote of anybody who has what's that quote? It's everybody you meet's you know, struggling. So we're on the quiet because there's a dog.
There's a dog.
Chilling. There's a dog.
Whoa! Dropping the iPad. Hold up. Let's see if I can get him on camera. Say hi, Wooly. That's our Woolly bear. He's a
there it is.
He's a Shih Tzu poodle mix. So he's a barky little guy. He gets excited when he hears someone coming down, and 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 then we have our cat. I love animals. We have
Yeah.
our cat that we named Poltergeist. And
Okay.
she's a noisy little ghost. You know, she's
That's
um,
excellent.
yeah. She likes to talk. She likes to communicate, and it's
Yeah.
really cool. Like, it's really cool to realize that you can communicate with animals. You know, it's like
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
people don't view it that way, but you have to communicate with your animals. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
you have to reassure them, and you have to take care of them. And it's nice. We have all kinds of animals in this house. We've got tarantulas and hissing cockroaches, and they're in their tanks. You know,
Right.
they're kept away from everybody, because whenever workmen come in, we don't want them to freak out,
Right.
because that's, some people do. So we have a sheet up that we put over all their tanks whenever the landlord or anyone has to come in. And it's fun. It's great having
Yeah.
animals around. Anyway.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It all goes back to the force is life. So
Mm.
wherever we find life, we find a connection to the force, and of
Oh,
course, animals,
yeah.
are a big part of that.
Yeah, well, and that's part of my path of shamanism too. Working with animal spirits, and my two power animal spirit guides, however you want to look at it, are wolf and raven. And it depends on the specific strain of shamanism, but the belief is that everyone has at least one power animal, and usually more than one. And finding them, if you want to, can be a very powerful thing. So it's pretty cool. Well, I mean, wolf and raven, I got lucky. Like, they're awesome. Like, that's
Right.
who doesn't like wolves and ravens, or at least corvids? It's like,
Right.
they're awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. It kind of reminds me of I was watching this show called Afterlife or Life After. I forget.
Life After People.
It's a Ricky Gervais on
Oh,
Netflix.
okay, haven't seen it.
In one of the episodes, his character is being told about the fable of the frog and the scorpion.
Okay. I don't think I've heard that one.
Basically, it's a scorpion comes to a river and wants to cross the river, and so he sees a frog, and he's like, "Hey, take me across the other side of the river." And the frog's like, "No way, you'll sting me."
Yeah.
And the scorpion's like, "But if I sting you, then we'll both drown,
Right.
and then I would die."
Mm-hmm.
And the frog's like, "Okay, that's a really good point. So all right, I'll do it." And so the scorpion gets on the frog's back. The frog starts going across the river, and about halfway, boom, scorpion stings him.
Yep.
And the frog looks back, and he's like, "Why'd you do that?" And he's like, "'Cause I'm a scorpion."
Right. It's in my nature.
And it's in my nature. And so the character's told the fable, and the character's like, "Yeah, I guess I can't fight against my nature." And the lady stops, and she's like, "No, you're the frog." And he's like, "I'm the frog? I didn't want to be the frog. Who wants to be the frog? I want to be the scorpion. Scorpions are cool. I didn't want to be I'm just sitting here croaking on the side of a river, and like, I didn't
just chilling."
Yeah. And he's like, I gotta tell you, I was really hoping I was gonna be the scorpion, because scorpions are just cooler, So yeah, like, going back to that thing of like, yeah, like, if you can get a cool, if you have cool power animals, then like, you're like,
but they're all cool in their own way,
in their own way. Yeah. Like, even the frogs, not to hate on frogs. Like, I actually like
frogs are awesome.
They're amazing. So yeah, everything does, but like, sometimes there's just that automatic knee-jerk reaction for some people of like, but that's so much cooler. Like,
right. And you have to resist that, because you have like, especially when you're talking about power animals and stuff like that, and spirit guides, it's like, you can't compare, because they're all really cool in their own ways. And if you do compare, darn it, Wooly.
It's all good. It's all good. Also, just a reminder for anybody, if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to throw into the chat, now is the time. We will be wrapping up shortly. It has been close to an hour, so we will be
Yeah.
wrapping this up.
I didn't even know it had been that long.
Yeah.
I just looked at the time like, wow, it has been an hour
Yeah.
almost.
So if anybody has any questions, or if you have any comments you want to throw in, or you just want to like offer your whatever,
Yeah.
feel free to throw those into the chat. And
I'll have you shoot me the link, so if anyone has a question for me, I can answer it.
yeah,
because I mean, I love being asked questions. Like it's I don't know. I guess I've always just loved to educate, even though I'm not an official educator. So you know, and it's fun. It's good. It's good to connect with people and you know, have that communication, because when we don't have communication, well, things go wrong. I mean, just look at the world right now. You know, this anyone paying attention realizes that something is very wrong in this world, and a lot of it, I think, revolves around lack of communication and lack of understanding between cultures, between people, and like some of it's really scary. So a lot of people are living in fear, and that causes its own problems. You know.
Absolutely.
That's the whole, what is the quote from Yoda? You know, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. Like that's real. Like that's life. That's not a Jedi thing. That's just living. And and anytime people are in fear or are suffering, that comes into play, and people get blinded to the reality of even their own situation or whatever, I think. So it can be a hard life.
It can be, and it's absolutely true that we are seeing like the reality of those things, of what the cost of fear and what that really means, not just for one person, but you know what that means on an overall
on a global scale. We're a global society right now, and some people don't realize that I think, you know, they think of culture as being specific to a nation state, and it's like no. It's like what we were talking about earlier, where borders are just a line on a map. Like culture goes where culture goes. People take it with them. You know, people take their culture, and when they move to a new country, they immigrate. It's about, you know, you have to either integrate into the new culture you're now a part of, or you remain isolated. That's why in America here, we're a melting pot, and we have isolated communities of different ethnicities, and that's beautiful, or it can be. But unfortunately, you know, racism is a thing. So
it is. And but we also see what happens when those cultures start blending over and start getting understanding. It's always, I guess, probably what the world saw, and you know, is the beautiful dream that what the United States could have been, and strives for at times. Like it strives to be that, as you say, melting pot that celebrates its different cultures, while in of itself doing that, creating its own culture, which should be more inclusive and should be more accepting of our varying differences without erasing them. You know?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people don't think that we have a culture here, that we don't have an American culture, and it's like we do. Like you gotta look. Like people say, you know, people might say, oh, we don't have, you know, myths, we don't have legends, we don't have that stuff. And I'm like, what about Paul Bunyan? What about Tall Tales? You know, Pecos Bill. Like that's our cultural mythos, you know. And it's really cool to come to that realization, and part of that is Native American stuff too. That's built in. You know, so it's really cool to connect with your own culture in a way that you hadn't before. And I think a lot of people need to realize that, like, we do have culture here. It's just that we're so big. There's a lot of them. You know? There's a lot of, you know,
a lot of things that we need to sort through. I mean, going back to your point, one of my favorite American tales is John Henry, man. Like ever since I was a kid, I've absolutely loved that thing. And a band called Gangsta Grass. It's great. It blends bluegrass with rap.
I'll have to look that up. That sounds awesome.
Gangster Grass is fun. And they have a song for John Henry. And it's so good. It's so good.
Is it the Boss's John Henry? Because
Um,
he did a song called John Henry, and then I found a cover of it by a Scotch uh, band called Trail West, and
hmm,
I didn't know at the time that it was his song. Um,
I'm not
so
sure. I'm not sure. You'll have to answer that
yeah,
question. Let
I'll
me
have to look
see.
up who originally wrote the song. And Wooly,
Let's see here. I am gonna find it maybe in my things. Let's go
mm,
down here.
because it's John Henry was a little baby
No,
sitting
it's not
on
that
his.
one.
Okay, it's not that one. All right. Yep.
No, it's
Yeah.
this one is it's fun. It's a
It's
I
okay.
really
I'll
I
have to look
really
it up.
like it.
Yeah. Shoot me the
Let
link
me
and I'll listen.
you have Spotify? I
Oh
can
yeah.
throw it on
I
Spotify.
love
Okay.
Spotify.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I will send you the Spotify
Okay.
link.
Thanks.
Um but
And it
yeah.
looks like we hit that hour mark. So
So yeah, we're there. Any no questions in the chat, anything like that? All right, everybody, we are going to get out of here
alrighty.
and head out, and I have to find that link at a different time.
Yeah. No
All right,
worries.
everybody. Oh, here we go. We got chiming in from
Oh,
Germany. May the force be
awesome.
with you.
And
May
with
the
you.
force and with you. Thank you for chiming in. We are just getting out of here, so sorry about that. But if you have any questions, obviously, everybody, you can watch the recap of this on YouTube anytime you want, and skip through the hour. You're gonna have to chop that up,
Yeah.
or put it on while you're stuck in traffic or whatever. You can
Yeah.
listen to it there, whatever you need to do. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can throw them in the comment section of that video. So we'll have that. Thank you everybody who come in, who was here. Paul, Sam, Ming, and then I'll have hopefully have some other videos for you soon. As always with Coffee with the Jedi, it is participation. That's how the series continues. I don't go out and ask anybody to be on this thing. So if you want to be a part of it, you have to reach out to me. So for anybody who wants to be a part of that, also go check out the Jedi Conclave. And if you're interested in Jedi community and what's going on and new communities out there, go check it out. And yeah, so thank you for joining us, everybody. It was nice to see you, nice to meet you. And all right, we're gonna get out of here. May the force be with you, everybody.
May the force be with you.